what we can expect from that meeting and whether Ramaphosa will be able to get through to Trump. I'm joined by Professor Chris Isike, Director of the African Center for the Study of the United States at the University of Pretoria. A very good afternoon to you, Prof. Thanks very much for your time. No one invites someone or gets to meet somebody just so that they can mistreat them or humiliate them. That response, of course, from the minister in the presidency came after she was asked what sort of treatment they will or they are expecting from that visit. Just your thoughts? Knowing, of course, who we are dealing with here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vuyo, for having me. And you started by saying no one invites a guest to their house to treat them. Well, Trump did that to Zelensky. So we can't put it past Trump, the fear that people, the concern people have about Ramaphosa being ill-treated. But the trick here will be for President Ramaphosa to keep it simple. And he has that capacity to be able to douse, tension, douse fires, and communicate his points across in a dignified manner. I don't think this is going to be a booby trap for him. Of course, Trump believes what he believes, and I share Ma'am Sophie Mokwena's view that the president should not go there to try and change Trump's mind per se on this particular issue of refugees in the country, because there are more important issues to talk about. And I think that, like many have suggested, a bit of respect to the president and a lot of flattery will get to him in ways that, serious discussions, which he doesn't really have capacity for anyway, would get to him.
You're not expecting a booby trap, Prof, but what remains a mystery is why the Trump administration has put so much focus, even in spite of, or shall I say, without evidence to prove some of the assertions and the premises that they are, the assertions that they are making and the premises from which they are moving. That remains a mystery. Why so much attention, shall I say, or add hostility as well towards South Africa?
Well, Trump does not speak based on facts. He speaks what he thinks will serve his purpose at any particular point in time. I mean, we saw him repeatedly refuse to concede the 2020 elections that he lost, calling it a big lie. And I think it's a trick of, telling a lie as many times as possible and eventually believing it yourself. And of course, others who listen to you will believe it. But the ill treatment of South Africa, I believe, have little to do with some of the issues that is fronted in the last couple of months against South Africa. They have more to do with, fears within the U.S. establishment that South Africa has been towing lines that do not serve U.S. interests. For example, in terms of how South Africa related with Russia during President Biden's time, even though Trump does not have any major bone to grind with Vladimir Putin now, so that won't be a big issue for him. But his advisors think that things like that, South Africa's seeming romance with, or not maybe romance, sympathies for Hamas, if you like, and relations with Iran. These are supposed to be U.S. enemies, and if South Africa is a friend of the U.S., there are countries that South Africa should be careful in relating with. And of course, also the concern about South Africa's involvement with BRICS. BRICS is something that the U.S. views with concern. Of course, South Africa's involvement can be an advantage for the U.S. because there are other countries in the BRICS that also kind of have sympathies or relations with the U.S. So it's better to have more friends than one in BRICS. If you put everything together, especially taking Israel to the ICJ, which will have implications for the U.S. as well, those are the real issues that bother them. And Mr. Trump may be more the Israeli issue than this so-called issue with the persecution of white South Africans in South Africa.
But then, I mean, he has a reputation of being transactional. His mantra for "Make America Great Again." One wonders, as you say, I mean, his own relationship with Vladimir Putin is at a different level, and not at the level at which, I mean, Vladimir Putin's friends will necessarily be his enemies. Yes, we know the proximity and America's support of Israel, but at a level where he wants to make America great again, at a level where he wants to accrue direct benefits for America or Americans. Where is that? What can we point to? In line, of course, with his reputation of being transactional. Is there something that we can point to?
Well, there are a lot of things we can point to. Like the minister was saying just now, the relations between both countries are mutually beneficial, not just economically, but even politically, right? In a world where Trump is increasingly isolating traditional U.S. allies, the more friends he has, the better for him and the U.S. Basically. So that's the one point. Of course, there are other issues. You heard the minister talk about the minerals. I don't like South Africa talking too much about the minerals, because it's almost like a dead giveaway that we're ready to surrender or do deals with you on the mineral front. The United States needs South African minerals. It should be able to use that as a way to entice the president, but it's not something we should just give willy-nilly or put up there as our starting point. Of course, when you meet Trump, he wants to hear what he can get from you. So maybe this is something to look at. But the understanding, and I'm sure that will be the case, should be that South Africa does have something to offer the United States, and we're willing to do business, do a deal, with a lot of flattery and opportunity for the US to have access to some of these critical minerals that the United States need, especially for its steel industry as well. It would eventually help South Africa to navigate and reset relations with the U.S. as the president says his intention is to achieve.
Americans want DRC, Eastern DRC in particular, minerals, but doesn't behave or act towards the DRC the way they act towards South Africa.
Well, that is because he's not heard anything about the DRC that he doesn't like. If the DRC was making the kind of moves that South Africa made, that has culminated in Congress men and women and the Senate passing bills to review South Africa's relations with the U.S., South Africa's beneficiation from AGOA, those kinds of things, I'm sure that he would have also trained his eyes there. So this man is very transactional, like you said. It's about what he can get. If you have something to offer him, put it up front and have a discussion with him about what you can do, and also put on the table what you want from him as well. He likes those kinds of leaders that are smart like that, good negotiators, but he also likes leaders that are strong. You saw what he said about al-Shara, the president of Syria, someone who has been on the U.S. terrorist watch list for years, suddenly now becomes a darling of the United States. His admiration for Putin also stems from there. So if President Ramaphosa goes there, we know that President Ramaphosa is not the type who triumphs in controversy. He's much more calculated, much more dignified and calm in his approach. But I'm sure that if he presents himself as a good business person, as a good leader, a strong leader, he would earn the admiration of Trump, and maybe then he can begin to get to him on other issues of concern that affect South Africa's image and overall relations with the U.S.
Professor Isike, let me thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.